fasting and exercise increase your growth hormone and is the actual key that you've all been looking for your entire life. How do I maintain my muscle and how do I burn just fat?
Welcome back to the Kingdom Fasting Podcast. I'm Brianne, an RN.
I'm Dr. Sam Sims, a nurse anesthesiologist.
And today we are talking about exercise and fasting.
One of the big myths about fasting is that you lose muscle mass. And so that was actually my biggest concern about fasting and exercise was, well, I'm going to lose muscle mass. And so I did some research, so I decided, okay, I'll try it. But if my weights go down to the gym, I will abandon this immediately.
You wanted a reason not to do it.
Well, fair enough. Yeah. So I had to do some research on it, but I was like, well, I was going to use myself as also as evidence, because if it changed. So one of the interesting things that I found as I was doing this is, well, one, fat is energy on your body, and so you can utilize this energy when you're not having food. That's its whole purpose. And so when you get in a fasted state, that I can utilize this energy in the gym. What I found was I did some longer fasts and I did lifts and exercises at the beginning of my fast. Then I did lift and exercise after I did a longer fast and saw where I went. And the amazing thing was I was stronger without food than I had food for days. 4 or 5 days, no food, and I was stronger without food.
Yeah,
well,
Me too.
Yeah. So how can that possibly be? Like, what's actually going on that I can be stronger without food? This was so counterintuitive. What we found was, and this is evidence research based, your human growth hormone goes up when you fast, up to 5 times in the first 24 hours. So what is that? Well, human growth hormone deals with growth and connective tissue, bones, and your metabolism. So your metabolism actually is going up when you are fasting.
Right. It's protecting your muscle mass.
Protecting your muscle, and so human growth hormone tells your body to burn more fat and to protect your muscle mass, to maintain your muscle mass.
Right.
So your muscle mass actually isn't going anywhere, and now you're actively burning the fat.
Which is what we want.
That's what we want. So you're burning fat and you're maintaining your muscle mass. That's the big goal when you actually exercise. How do I lose fat and how do I maintain my muscle mass?
Right. And that automatically happens. God designed your body smart enough to do that on its own when you're fasting.
Right. So your ancestors didn't know when they were going to get their next meal, so they had to be able to chase down an animal if they haven't eaten in 3 days. They couldn't be a complete slug. So it doesn't make sense for the very second you stop eating for your body to be like, well, now we have all this fat energy in our body, but now we're going to burn your muscles. So your genetics didn't get passed on if you couldn't fast and run, I guess. Fast and flight. Fight or flight is fast and flight.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So your human growth hormone goes up, and there's no side effect of you naturally increasing your human growth hormone.
Right.
But people do take human growth hormone, exogenous, which means outside the body. They inject themselves with human growth hormone, and that has lots of side effects. It can make your blood pressure go up. It can make you diabetic. There's potential risks for cardiovascular disease and possible prostate cancer risks. There's all these risks that can happen. It can disrupt your sleep. You can get abnormal growth. So there's all these problems that can exist if you do it you inject it. But if you fast, there's no side effects because it's you.
Right. It's your own body protecting itself.
Yeah.
And working the way that God designed it to. And yeah, it's just exciting to know that God put those protections in place for us to be able to fast.
So now let's look at this. So now our metabolism's up, our human growth hormone's up, we're in the fasted state. What happens when we exercise? Well, your body is not taking in any more sugar. So then it says, well, I have all this fat on my body that's energy. I'm going to use that.
Yay! That's what we've been trying to do this entire time with all of our weight loss journeys, right? Is access the fat on our body that is there for energy and actually use it up.
Yeah, so it can only go after those cells.
Yeah.
And then your body starts looking for cells that are bad. It's like, what cell has protein in it that I don't need? How about loose skin? Yeah. Fasting tightens loose skin. And why does everybody have loose skin hanging out for themselves when they use caloric restriction? Because they don't fast. So that's protein, that's amino acids. There's loose skin gets tightened when people fast.
Right, and what you're talking about is called autophagy.
Autophagy, that's right. So
which only has been recently discovered.
Yeah, so it's huge.
Yeah.
The toughest is, so you want to tighten loose skin, you want to lose fat, you want to maintain your muscle mass, then fast so you exercise. Now, fat energy is kind of like the marathon runner. The glucose is that burst of speed, your max bench. This
quick energy.
That fat energy when you fast is kind of like continuous energy.
Right. So I think of it as like the glucose that you're using. It's like the fire. It's like the flames, right? Really hot, really fast. But the fat energy on your body is like the ashes,
or the embers.
It's the embers, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, not ashes. Embers is what I'm trying to say. It's like the embers that burn for a long time that you get that nice bubbly roasted marshmallow with, right? But it stays hot for a long time. And so when you're fasting,
that's right,
you're burning up that fat and melting it off of your body for like a longer period of time, if that makes sense. So even a short amount of fasting, you get that fat burning benefit for a longer amount of time. And if you include exercise on top of that, you get even more fat burning for an even longer amount of time. So there's benefits, like so much benefits to even fasting for a short amount of time. Obviously longer amounts of time equate to more benefits, but even if you can't do super long fasts, you can still get those incredible benefits even with shorter fasts.
What we do find is when we exercise in the fasted state, we have to go a little bit slower. I kind of call it the lag. So just take it a little bit easier. Your body's not used to just fasting and exercising. So you're not going to hit the treadmill as hard as you used to be able. You're not going to be able to hit the weights as hard as you used to. You're maintaining your muscle mass, but you have to take it a little bit easier on yourself. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you accept the lag.
Because there's extra steps involved for your body to transform the fat into the fuel that you need.
Right. And it's actually called metabolic switching. That's the medical term, or Latin term. Metabolic switching. You're switching from one energy source of energy, which is glucose,
right,
to another energy source, which is fat.
Yeah.
Your brain can use ketones, so don't worry about that. So you're going from fat and using ketones as energy. And so you made that switch. Now, the more you fast, the quicker your body makes that switch. In fact, when you first fast, it's really hard. It takes a while. You'll really notice that lag. The more you fast, your body makes that switch even quicker to the point where you don't even notice it. And this is why elite athletes are now training in the fasted state. And the reason is they don't want to hit the wall anymore. So because you'll hit the wall if you haven't trained.
Right.
If you never trained to switch over to fat energy, you'll use all your glucose energy. You've never trained your body to make that switch. You'll hit the wall because you run out of sugar and you'll crash. So runners train in the fasted state, cyclists train in the fasted state. These are the endurance people train in the fasted state now, because that way they don't hit the wall. And
they're switching over to using fat and ketones as energy, and there's an endless supply as long as you have fat on your body, and we all do.
So if you have at least 10 pounds of fat on your body, that is almost 17 to 18 days of energy.
Yeah, so you could go 17 to 18 days.
As long as you can stay hydrated, not injured.
Without eating.
Yeah, you can literally run for days. You have the energy on your body, but that's just 10 pounds of fat.
Yeah.
And so where do we hear this thing about people losing muscle mass is actually you find that they don't actually lose muscle mass until they get around 4% body fat.
Which is
kind of unheard of for most of us. Elite athletes or marathon runners are usually around 7 or 8. And that's males and women are usually around, I think, 10 to 12. So don't have to worry about that.
We're not anywhere near
Not anywhere near that.
Yeah, we're not anywhere near that.
And this is why we say that you need to not fast if your BMI is below 17, because that's where you run that risk.
Right.
So one of the hacks that you can do if you're like, I'm worried about exercising if I've been fasted for a long time. So there's actually one of the things you can do is you can actually exercise at the beginning of your fast. And what the advantage of that is it decreases the stores of glucose or glycogen in your liver and gets your body to burning fat faster. And so certain things happen. There's a timeline for fasting, and the longer you fast, the more benefits you get. And so some people struggle to get past a certain hour mark. I cannot get past hour 16, or I cannot get past hour 18. Whatever that is, you can exercise at the beginning. And if you do that, then it jumps your timeline by 4 hours. So if you can ever get past hour 16, but you exercise at the beginning of that, and then you get to hour 16, you've actually made it to hour 20 for health benefit wise. Yeah. So it's one of the ways you can kind of help your body and biohack yourself and get the benefits of longer fasts when you're first doing this, especially at the beginning of this. Yeah. So you'll burn the excess sugar in your liver, and you get the benefits. of exercising in the fasted state.
Increase the benefits of fasting while you're fasting by exercising.
Yep. And with your human growth hormone going up, you get the gains. It's all about the gains, right? So fasting and exercise increase your growth hormone and is the actual key that you've all been looking for your entire life. How do I maintain my muscle and how do I burn just fat?
Yeah, with fasting.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of our series on fasting and why should it matter to me. Now you've been educated on fasting and exercise, so you know that you're not in starvation mode and you're not going to waste away your muscles.
If you have a question about fasting that we haven't talked about yet, put it in the comments below and we'll address it in a future episode.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.